God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Is addiction a disease or a choice? A lot of people think it's a choice. I thought it was a choice until I felt the pain and the wrath of addiction. From the outside looking in, if you are not an addict or if you have not experienced addiction firsthand by someone you love, it's hard to believe that people can't make the sound, rational decision to not use. But that is what addiction is the choice that we make to continue to use regardless of the consequences. And it is classified as a disease today. It's classified as a substance use disorder. And, that disease is classified as a disease that involves the continued use of one or more substances, even though there may be serious health and social consequences. And that's just it. We continue to use regardless of any negative consequences. We choose drugs over everything. We choose alcohol over our lives, over our wives, over our children, our jobs, money. You might have every reason in the world to stay sober and every consequence bearing down on you, but you still are incapable of not drinking. And that's what it was for me. And, when this program of Alcoholics Anonymous was founded in the 1930s, Bill had a conversation with Dr. William Silkworth, who was a medical doctor, and he expounded on that idea. And today we're going to talk about the doctor's opinion and what his opinion of alcoholism was and is still to this day. And in that time, he talked about how what separates an alcoholic from an average drinker is the phenomenon of craving. And I just want to get into the text here. We believe, and so suggested a few years ago, that the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics is the manifestation of an allergy, that the phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. These allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all. Once having formed the habit, they have found they cannot break it. Once having lost their self-confidence, their reliance upon things human, their problems pile up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve. So the difference between me and my mother is that when my mom drinks, or what we call a normie drinks, the way that their body processes alcohol, they come home from a hard day of work, whatever, they might have a glass of wine, they feel relaxed, and then if they drink too much wine, they might feel a little bit dizzy, and they feel a little bit out of control. When I drink, I'm already restless, irritable, and discontent. So when I drink, I feel like I'm gaining control. When I drink, I feel normal. When I drink, I immediately have a craving, and the phenomenon of craving makes me want more. And I cannot have enough until, the night is over. Once I start, I cannot stop. And that is what we're called the allergy that alcoholics have. And nothing can stop it. The way that we process is just different from the average temperate drinker. And, some people are able to understand that and are able to, hold off on their intake of alcohol to where it's not a problem, or, they're able to nip it in the bud before it becomes a real issue in their life. But if you're a real problem drinker or a real alcoholic, it just takes over your life and nothing can stop it. Frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. The message which can interest and hold these alcoholic people must have depth and weight. In nearly all cases, their ideals must be grounded in a power greater than themselves if they are to recreate their lives. And that's talking about, it doesn't matter the consequences. Like, I lost jobs, I lost vehicles, girlfriends, all these things. Like, problems at home when I was young, my parents drug testing me, not being able to play sports, all these frothy emotional appeals don't work. You have to be ready to stop drinking. Your life, that's why we talk about the rock bottom, is you have to be completely ready. And for a lot of us, that's, a hopeless, just desperate, incomprehensible demoralization, of our spirit that we have to get to in order to surrender to the program and really surrender to a higher power. And that's what it's talking about. Must be grounded in a power greater than themselves if they are to recreate their lives. And that's what we do in that third step, where we make the decision to turn our will and our lives over to the power of God as we understand him. And we're giving up that power. We're handing the reins over to a higher power, because when we try to be in control of our lives, it never goes the way that we want it to. When I am in control, when I'm driving the car, I wreck it every single time. But by giving that power to a power greater than myself, I actually gain control, because God knows the way. I don't. And walking in that faith and understanding that I'm not in control actually gives me strength and gives me power. And there's a lot of power and freedom in that surrender, just understanding that I don't have to be in control, that the one that created me is in control, and I'm here for a reason. That reason is to fulfill his wishes here on earth. It's not about me anymore, and when I can get out of my own way and try to align my will with God's will, my life goes way better. It's like night and day. When I am living in Blaine's will and selfishness and self-centered desires, I'm a freaking train wreck, I'm out there making poor decisions with or without drugs and alcohol, and I'm hurting people that love me. I can't keep anything together. I'm just pleasure seeking, living a life that is meaningless, no purpose, and just after the desires of the flesh. And that is not God's will for me. God's will for me today is to be an upstanding man in society, to be a good father, son, brother, friend, and to be a man of service, to help other alcoholics and drug addicts to overcome their issues, to be the light in the darkness, to show people that there is a way out, that you don't have to live in that darkness anymore. And this is just the start of that journey. And just to give a little bit of background of what the doctors feel about this disease of addiction. It says, men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. To them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontented unless they can again experience a sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks which they see others taking with impunity. Man, that just that just hits so hard. Like I was saying, alcohol did things for me that I didn't have when I wasn't drinking. I go into social environments and, I might have some anxiety, lack of confidence, whatever it is. When I have a few beers or a few drinks, all that goes out the window, and I'm able to talk to women. I'm able to walk around and have conversations with people I wouldn't normally have conversations with. I'm able to do things that I wouldn't normally do, and I just feel okay when I drink. It removes all that restless, irritable, discontent feelings. Because the problem with alcoholism is that when we don't have it, we feel restless, irritable, and discontent, and we know what the solution is. We know that if we have a drink, all that will go away and we'll feel okay. But the alcohol becomes a problem and is the reason why we are restless, irritable, and discontent. So it's a vicious circle where we're chasing our tails and eating our own vomit. And, the great, problem with every drinker is that we see people drink with impunity, you know? I see people that can have a few beers and go home and live normal lives, and I just want to be normal, you know, but I'm not normal. I'm not. I'm an alcoholic, and when I have a few beers, you know, I turn into a different person, you know, and my hair catches on fire and I want to go frickin' party. You know, I want to drink until I pass out, you know, and that progresses. It's a progressive illness. It gets worse, never better. And so the more you drink and the more time you spend in alcoholism, the worse it gets. And that's the problem is, you know, you might get 90 days of sobriety and go back out and you'll pick up right where you left off and get worse. It gets worse, never better. Every relapse will always be worse with alcoholism. It's a guarantee, you know, and alcohol is no longer the answer to the way that I feel. You know, I'm trying to get to the point in recovery where I feel okay without alcohol. Where before alcohol was the solution to the way that I felt and then became a problem in my life to where I was drinking alcohol at all times of the day. I was inebriated 24 hours a day. You know, I'd wake up and go to the liquor store 6 a.m. before work, drinking all day at work, drinking more when I got off. You know, if I had some left over, I would wake up early before work just so I could tie one on before I even got to the liquor store at 6 a.m. to get more for the day. And, you know, alcohol becomes a physical problem. I have a disease, you know, and a disease is really the definition. One of the definitions is just other than normal, right? I'm out of ease, I'm dis-ease. So the way that alcohol affects me is not normal. It's not how it affects other people. And we want to get to the point in sobriety where we no longer need alcohol to feel okay. And the way that we do this is by working the 12 steps, where we, you know, are able to look at our past and look at these relationships and seek and find God and find some peace and serenity within ourselves to the point where I'm okay in my own skin. I'm comfortable, you know, and I'm okay with feeling my emotions. You know, God gave us those emotions and feelings for a reason. We don't have to run from them. You know, I spent so much time in my life running from the way that I felt or trying to change the way that I felt. It's okay to have anger. It's okay to have a little bit of anxiety sometimes. It's okay to, you know, have fear, you know, of whatever. It's okay to be sad, right? Like we have those emotions for a reason. It's just part of the human experience. And in sobriety and in these recovery programs, we learn how to deal with those emotions without having to reach for drugs and alcohol, because drugs and alcohol are a problem in our lives. They are no longer the solution to how we feel. God and the tools that we learn in sobriety are the solution to the way that we feel. And so getting into the solution of this, on the other hand, and as strange as this may seem to those who do not understand, once a psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol. The only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules. And those simple rules are the 12 steps. But it is, you know, it's so true. It's incredible how this program works. Like you see guys like myself who are freaking gutter slut alcoholics, just like you could not even imagine me recovering from alcoholism, to the point where I live a incredibly blessed life. Like my cup is overflowing to the point where I try to give it away to other people and try to share my experience, strength, and hope with others to help them to get out of there, because I know how you feel. I know how it feels to be completely wrapped in alcoholism, where it controls every thought and behavior. I know what that incomprehensible demoralization feels like. I've freaking been there, dude. I've lost everything. I've seen the wreckage of alcoholism. I've seen and felt the wreckage of addiction. I've been in the loneliest, worst places you could ever imagine, and I recovered. Recovery is possible, and we do it together through these programs. There are many situations which arise out of the phenomenon of craving which cause men to make the supreme sacrifice rather than continue to fight. The classification of alcoholics seems the most difficult and in much detail is outside the scope of this book. There are, of course, the psychopaths who are emotionally unstable. We are all familiar with this type. They are always going on the wagon for keeps. They are over remorseful and make many resolutions, but never a decision. There's a type of man who is unwilling to admit that he cannot take a drink. He plans various ways of drinking. He changes his brand or his environment. There's the type who always believes that after being entirely free from alcohol for a period of time, he can take a drink without danger. And that's all of us at first. Like we get a little bit of time under our belt and we're like, okay, I feel like I can handle myself this time. And it talks about that later in this book. It talks about, trying some controlled drinking to see if you really are that alcoholic. Go out and try to have a couple of drinks and like set a limit for yourself. But, like I was saying before, it gets worse, never better. And you're never going to be able to control your drinking if you're a real alcoholic. We process alcohol differently. We get the allergy, the phenomenon of craving, and we're off to the races. You're never going to be able to drink like a normal person, and you have to become okay with that and not have these thoughts in your head that you're ever going to be able to, or that you can ever drink or use anything with success. You have to let that stuff go. Life in sobriety is so much better than any day drinking, and when you do get some sobriety under your belt, you just have to remember how it felt before you got sober. You have to remember that pain, that just shame of alcoholism. You have to remember the way that your family felt, all the negative emotions that everybody was going through because of your alcoholism. And you have to let go of those reservations that you'll ever be able to drink with impunity, because you're not going to be able to. You're an alcoholic, and it's okay. Like, all of that pain and suffering doesn't have to be in vain. You can still live a life of purpose and happiness and success in sobriety. And that is the fucking truth. The lie is that addicts can never recover. That addicts are doomed to failure. They're doomed to death by drug addiction, and it's just not true. I'm living proof. There's millions of people who are living proof that are successful, happy, and free, and have recovered from addiction. It is possible. You're looking at it, and we just do it one day at a time. And you have no idea how beautiful the journey of recovery can be. I live today a life beyond my wildest dreams, and you hear that all the time. It's because when you have faith in God, and it starts with that second step, right? Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Like having that faith in God that we can recover, that we can be restored to sanity, and that we can live a life of happiness and in sobriety. And when you place that faith in God and you surrender your life to a higher power, and you buy into this program and work these steps to the best of your ability, you're honest, open-minded, and willing, your life will change. And when you follow a higher power and are just obedient to his will and direction, you have no idea where your life is going to go. But when you're making the next right decision and you're living in positivity and you're living in gratitude and you're moral and ethical and are just living as a good person, the blessings will pour upon you. Like, God will bless you for living righteously. There's no doubt about it. I'm living proof of that. The more I'm obedient to God's will and the more I try to align my will with God's will, the more I'm blessed. And it's not all peaches and cream. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to tell you as soon as you get sober and do this, your life is going to be perfect. It's not. But we learn the tools and how to deal with life on life's terms. So when things get sticky, we don't have to light our lives on fire, you know? And the more that we're able to overcome difficult situations in sobriety, the more we gain self-confidence, and the more we're able to overcome adversity without having to destroy everything around us. Because that's my MO. That's what I do. Like when things get hard, I get the fuck it's and I just burn everything to the ground. And we no longer have to do that. And this goes on to talk about the different types of alcoholics, you know, the problem drinkers. Then there are the types entirely normal in every respect except in the effect alcohol has upon them. They are often able, intelligent, friendly people. All these and many others have one symptom in common. They cannot start drinking without developing the phenomenon of craving. The phenomenon, as we have suggested, may be the manifestation of an allergy which differentiates these people and sets them apart as a distinct entity. That's just it, you know? We're just different. We manifest an allergy that sets us apart from other people. We are no longer able to drink like normal people, and I never really was, and alcoholics never really are, you know. It affects us differently, you know. We develop that phenomenon of craving and we're off to the races. And for me, it started from the first time I ever drank, and you know, that's how most people's stories are. And it's a progressive illness that, you know, eventually leads to the point where you're drinking to oblivion, right? You're drinking to forget, you're drinking to escape. And, you know, you become physically addicted to alcohol, and those physical addictions turn into violent repercussions, you know, in our body. I had bleeding ulcers. I would wake up every morning and vomit blood and just pour vodka right on top of it. And I wouldn't eat in the morning because I didn't want to tamper down the effect of alcohol. So I would just drink it on a bare stomach, vomit some blood, and keep drinking until I got to the point where I felt okay. From there, you know, having the shakes when I'm not drinking, you know, and it goes all the way to death, right? We get liver failure, you know, cirrhosis of the liver from alcoholism, pancreatitis, you know, all types of issues, wet brain, you get the bloated stomach, gastro problems. We get all kinds of diseases, you know. You can have seizures from withdrawals, and which can kill you. You know, it's one of those things that if you cold turkey and you're a real alcoholic, you can die from the withdrawal. So, you know, I'm not telling you to quit cold turkey if you are an alcoholic, but I am telling you to find help. And I just want you to know that help is possible. Recovery is possible, and we do it one day at a time together with God. Thank you.
Victorious we became, but never forgot where we came from. Life or death, not a game. We came to change the lane. Recovery addicts, that's the name. Give yourself a break, just one day at a time. You were born to shine, so live and let love be forever. My sister, my brother, don't give in. Please remember, the lie is dead. We do recover. Welcome home.